So as an immigrant, I came in 1974, and that was Marcos era in the Philippines under martial law. I arrived here and I was surprised because I never get involved in political thing or activism back home. But when I got here, I get involved in Marcos dictatorship thing. And through that, I was introduced to the union, Local 37, ILWU, which is the cannery workers. And the first thing that through Selmy Domingo, and I don't know if anybody knows Selmy Domingo, Jean and Selmy was killed in the 80s when we are trying to reform the union. So with that, that was in 76. I was asked, actually 77, I was asked by Selmy that I should go up to Alaska, because for us to be part of the union, you have to go up in Alaska. And I know Ray went up to Alaska when he was, 13? So anyway, one of the things that we want to do is to reform the union, because there's a lot of things going on up there, but also there's a lot of discrimination. A lot of the Filipino was not able to get a better job. All the job that the Filipinos got is really the minimal, like butchers and patching and all that. Through that, I went up to Alaska, and I see that basically the working condition in there. I did not stay. They get mad at me because I'm only stay for 2 weeks. You have to work up to 14 hours a day. And a lot of the Manongs that I talk to, they always look at me and say, Emma, this is easy money. Easy money. And I said, Manong, how can you say it's easy money when you have to work 14 hours a day? But that's how they look at it, because for the Manongs, the Alaska, the canneries, where they work, every year is their family. As we look, a lot of them, they never had a family because they're not allowed to be married. So when I get involved with that, they're all elders, and a lot of them also lives in the ID, International District, which I happened to work. I've been working in the ID since 76, because a lot of us, like the young activists that time, also doing a lot of work in the ID, making sure that a lot of the elders have a better housing. A lot of those housing in the ID is really not a good place for them. So we try to help them to make sure they have a place. The other thing, as part of when I went up in Alaska, then I run for, we have a slate for reform, and a lot of us actually got in. So I was the first Filipina who was actually elected to sit on the executive board of the Local 37. So I have all the Manongs with me, and I remember the roll call, and Tony Barroso was the president that time also. So it's Selmy, Jean, myself, and white guy, John Hutton. We are sort of the new guy, young one that got in. So every roll call, he will say, Brother Barroso, Brother Domingo, Brother Katagi. And Tony Barroso always said, Brother Ponce Torres, you have to understand, we have sister here. And so, just being the first one, really, and it's intimidating because you have all this, old men, that really been involved. But I think they knew that I was a fighter, so I always said, look, you guys, you need to understand there's a woman here, So with that, one of the things that we do as a member, working for the union, we have to conduct membership. And I remember going up in Alaska, in Delano. So some of the Delano boys, we call it Delano boys, when they come to Seattle, they have to have a place to stay before they get dispatched going up in Alaska. And there's about 10 of them that actually, become a friend of us. So whenever they arrive in Seattle, they will stay with us. So the whole basement, I have about 10 of them, and they just have, like a sleeping bag in there, and they, have, like a barbecue in there. And so whenever the season is over, then I go to Delano. And the other thing also is my parents at one point, in the early, I think it's late 80s, they actually went up to Delano and worked in the farm. So my mother and my father, they used to pick the grapes. So at one time I brought my kids, we drove there, and we went to the field to actually see it and feel it how they do. And it's really hard because they don't have any kind of protection. And the thing is, they also told us that sometimes there is this plane that pouring all this pesticide, and all they have to do is just run, on the side and come back. And I know that, I can see why they're being sick now, because they don't have this kind of protection. So I think a lot of the, in looking at this, it's really, I was a little teary earlier because I can see the struggle that they went through, but also the same thing that we've been doing in the 70s and the 80s when we were trying to reform the union, and actually, doing a lot of immigrants' right, work in here. And I heard a lot about them when I went to Delano and Bakersfield and Stockton, because we have a lot of members of the unions that live in Southern California. So we used to go there in Stockton and Delano and Bakersfield to make sure that we can serve them in whatever they need before they go back to Alaska. And it's really, they were telling us about Cesar Chavez, Philip Veracruz, and Lara Itleong. But this is the first time I see that it's really, you can see the hardship that they did, that I think for us, as the new generation coming, young people, to really see what they've done for us to move forward and continue the struggle, because the situation is still the same. It might be a little better, but I think hopefully a lot of you will get something out of it and to continue to work that we've done, or a lot of them that they've done. Thank you.
Thank you.